What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of things that you need to know for this upcoming week that could cause a little bit more volatility in Lucid and the broader market. I'll go over some data points and my price prediction as well for the week. And I also do want to talk on the huge bullish signals that's happening behind the scenes. Before I get into any of that, making sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe is always greatly appreciated. Also in my description below is my Discord. Pop over there, join. It's a lot of good information, a lot of good people. And with that said though, let's get right to it. So as far as actual economic events, there's only one big thing that is coming out, and that is CPI data. So that's coming out on Tuesday. That's going to be a very big deal, especially more so even if you are looking at this chart. A lot of people want to know, is CPI starting to be curbed down? Because based on last month over month report, it did show as 0%, but ultimately oil was down negative 4.6%, meaning other basket items were up 4.6%. So it'll be very interesting to see. And there's a lot of articles that are coming out all showing its importance on CPI. In reality, though, the feds don't necessarily look at CPI for determining their interest rate decisions. They more so look at PCE, but still, when it comes to it, though, CPI is by far the more favored one to look at for the broader market. So that's something you just need to factor in. Outside of the CPI that's coming out on Tuesday, I think basically the rest of the week is just going to piggyback off of that. There's also PPI coming out on Wednesday, but in my opinion, that's not too important in the grand scheme of things. But still, at the end of the day, I think everyone will care about CPI. So let me know your thoughts on where you feel that is going to go. And based on here as well, you can see the previous, like I already mentioned, was 0%. It is actually being forecasted as being negative. So if this is the case, then do assume that the broader market and Lucid are all going to go on a very nice rally. So keep that in mind. Like I always say as well, I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own due diligence at the end of the day, but clearly there is a lot of importance being placed on this. So a couple of bullish signals that's happening behind the scenes is all necessarily with short interest and also institutional purchasing. Institutions have been really buying a lot of shares lately. So this is all the transactions from the dark pool, and there was some abnormal activity from Friday after hours, which is Friday after hours. Nobody's necessarily even caring, but the fact that there was two very large orders done after hours, that's definitely speaking volumes. But not only that though, this is happening almost every single day for Lucid. And I do look at a lot of other companies outside of Lucid, and this is why I'm bringing up on why Lucid is very special and different, because in reality, if you always do compare and contrast Lucid with other growth stocks, a lot of institutions are very favorable towards Lucid. That's my own 2 cents on how I interpret all of that, but there was a 1.83 million and also a $1.1 million order after hours. And coincidentally as well, short interest has gone down quite a lot over the last week, and you can even tell based on the growing trend of where we are. So we're starting to break out a little bit. Obviously, I'm not here to say that we're going to go to $25 next week. I'm definitely not going to say that. But there's a lot of good things starting to all come together, insinuating that there might be a nice bullish trend starting to form. So I'm going to go over that as well. But looking at some of the options activity, you can tell that there was some very large money getting in. Obviously, there was one very bullish, one very bearish, clearly by the same institution. So there was one very bullish signal that was 18 million of a premium expiring in 6 days, a $25 put. So they did sell a $25 put. They also bought a $25 put, but this one is expiring in 41 days. So what they're ultimately assuming is in the short term, maybe because of CPI, we might be going up, but the broader sense, we might be going down. So that's a little bit more of a negative, but I think that's a very common thing in the broader market. A lot of negative options are being done, but I think that largely has to do with the broader market just thinking that there's going to be a massive impending recession. But I don't really feel that is going to be the case. I also did do a video recently, I believe it was even yesterday, on some short-term catalysts for Lucid. So definitely take a look at that, because that could come anytime. And if and when that does come, then hypothetically that should give Lucid a nice little bump up as well. So make sure you do take a look at that video. It does have a couple of good short-term catalysts that a lot of people need to realize. But also outside of that though, like I said about the short interest, just based on Friday alone, it does look like they closed out almost 1 million shares. It has gone down. So we did reach a high roughly around 25% for the short interest. And as of right now, it is 22.34. cost to borrow is starting to go back up a little bit. So 1307, that is the average. So I think in general, there's still technically $2 billion worth of shorts out there. So potentially there could be a squeeze, and even the short score has started to continue to go up. So 87.02, and that basically is the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening. Like I said about the short-term catalysts, anything unknown and surprising to the broader market could definitely appreciate Lucid's price. So let me know your thoughts on that. One thing as well I just really like to bring up is if you are looking at a lot of the articles, typically that shows the underlying sentiment, especially the media. They like to manipulate things sometimes, but right now and lately for Lucid, it's really been very positive despite that $8 billion shelf offering that a lot of the media like to hang on to, if you want to call it that. But I think a lot of sentiment around the EV sector is all insinuating that it is at a huge discount. So again, it's one of those things, underlying facts, that's a very bullish thing that you again just pile on to everything else that I've been saying to you. So I think that's a very good thing going forward. But technicals, I'm a very big technicals fan, and looking on the actual chart, there's some good underlying bullish signals that's happening. Stochastic, we've been very oversold for the longest time, but as of late you do see a nice breakout. So a black line above the red showing a nice bullish trend is starting to form. RSI is currently at 37, which matches the stochastic. Very oversold. Momentum, you can tell a number of buyers have been getting in basically since the 7th. So that's a very good thing, a nice change of events that is happening. And on the actual chart, still low percentile of the Bollinger Band, well below all the moving averages. So we definitely do have kind of a no man's land a little bit, if you want to call it that. But looking at the Fibonacci, 1695 is a very strong pivot point. In my opinion, I don't see us touching that unless the CPI is very positive. So it's one of those things that, similar to last CPI data when it did come out, there was that 0% like I already mentioned, but I think a lot of people initially did give it a nice bump up the broader market, but it started to taper down because people started to realize, well, if you take the energy component out, which unfortunately caused a lot of this one way or another, this inflation, then the basket items are still going up. And especially with the other retail sales, there's still a lot of underlying fear. So I think we do need a really good low CPI data to come out in order for us to get to higher numbers, to get past this pivot point. If, for instance, we are negative, let's say 3% for our month over month, which would absolutely be mind-blowingly amazing, then hypothetically, yeah, we could get to that around $17 mark. But still, there's a lot of what ifs for that to happen. Realistically, looking at the actual chart, like I said, we are in no man's land. Most likely, we will stay within the range of around the 1380, which obviously we did hit a low of. So we do know that is a very strong support as of right now. So hypothetically, I could see a low of around the 1380, again, depending on CPI data, all the way up to roughly about 1650. So I see that as a very strong range. Most likely, I don't see us getting past this pivot point, like I said, unless there's some very good news that does come out that causes us to get over that. But this whole broader market and this whole week is going to be very dependent on CPI. Everyone and their dog is going to be looking at CPI data. So let me know your thoughts on that. And also, like I already said, let me know whether you think it is going to be higher, lower, or if it's going to be in line with the forecast. There's a lot of speculation going on in conjunction with that. So I personally do feel, given how things are, that most likely it is going to be a little bit lower, especially on a month over month. I know the energy component, which does play a very big part in CPI, has gone down. So it is fair to say that between July and August, because keep in mind this is August's numbers that is coming out, that should be lower. So hopefully CPI is going to be a little bit lower than the negative 0.1%, which is the forecast. So like I said, a lot of broader market is going to care about that, but still, this is all short-term stuff. I like to give a weekly update on this, but you guys know my stance on Lucid. It is long-term. This is where you're going to make a lot of money. You're not necessarily going to care or even remember August's CPI data. Years from now, you're just going to care that it is at $40, $50, $60, wherever it is. But like I always say, I'm not a financial advisor. This is only for entertainment purposes. And in the end, I hope you are always entertained. Hopefully everyone also had an amazing weekend and had enjoyed the sun, whatever it is, floated your boat. Let me know in the comments below if you are going to be adding, buying, selling, whatever it is to Lucid this week or other stocks. Let me know. But with all that said, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.